Here, take this and go. You're scaring the investors." That was the last thing my father ever said to me as his daughter. He didn't say it with anger, and he didn't say it with sadness. He said it with the same dismissive annoyance he used when a waiter brought him the wrong sparkling water. He shoved a piece of paper into my hand, a personal check made out for $500, and pointed toward the kitchen exit of the ballroom. I looked down at the check. The ink was still wet. $500. That was the price he had put on my dignity. That was the calculation he had made in his head. The cost of removing his embarrassing, poverty-stricken daughter from his prestigious 30th anniversary gala was exactly $500. "Dad," I started, my voice quiet, trying to keep the tremble out of it. "I just wanted to congratulate you. I took the bus for 2 hours to get here." He adjusted his silk tie, refusing to look me in the eye. He scanned the room over my shoulder, searching for someone more important, someone wealthier. "Alina, look at you," he hissed, gesturing vaguely at my outfit. I was wearing a simple black dress I'd bought from a department store clearance rack 3 years ago. It was clean, it was modest, but in a room full of Chanel, Gucci, and custom-tailored Italian silk, I stood out like a stain on a white tablecloth. "You look like the help." Actually, the help is dressed better. "Tiffany is about to be announced as the new vice president. Do you understand what it looks like to have you standing there looking like this? It ruins the aesthetic. It signals failure." He took a step closer, lowering his voice to a cold whisper. "Take the money, buy yourself some groceries, or fix that radiator in that slum you live in. Just leave, and don't come back until you look like you belong in this tax bracket." I stood there for a moment, the sounds of the string quartet filtering in from the main hall. I could hear the clinking of crystal glasses, the polite laughter of the city's elite, and the voice of my mother holding court near the champagne fountain. They were celebrating 30 years of sterling manufacturing, the company my father built, the company that defined our last name, and I was being paid to leave through the service entrance. I didn't scream, I didn't cry, I didn't tear up the check and throw it in his face like they do in the movies. I simply folded the check, placed it in my worn-out purse, and said, "Okay, happy anniversary, Dad." I walked out the back door, past the dumpster that smelled of stale seafood, and into the alleyway. I walked 3 blocks to where I had parked my car, not a bus. I had lied about that to lower his expectations even further, but it wasn't much better. It was a 2014 Honda Civic with a dent in the rear bumper and a muffler that rattled when I idled. I sat in the driver's seat, gripping the steering wheel until my knuckles turned white. My parents think I am a failure. They think I am Alina, the 29-year-old administrative assistant who struggles to pay rent on a studio apartment, cuts coupons for cereal, and wears clothes until they fall apart. They think I am the mistake of the family, the one who lacked the ambition and the sparkle of my younger sister, Tiffany. They don't know the truth. They don't know that the administrative assistant job is a cover. They don't know that the studio apartment is just one of the 40 units in the building I bought through a blind trust 2 years ago. They certainly don't know that I am the sole founder of Obsidian Ventures, a boutique private equity firm specializing in distressed asset acquisition. I lived this way because I wanted to be sure. I wanted to know, without a shadow of a doubt, if my parents loved me for me, or if they only loved the reflection of their own success. Tonight, holding that $500 check, I got my answer. They didn't just dislike my poverty, they were offended by it. They were disgusted by the very idea that they could produce something so average. As I drove home, the rattle of the muffler vibrating through the floorboards, I thought about Tiffany, my golden sister, 2 years younger, 10 times louder, and 100 times more expensive. Tiffany, who had barely graduated from a mid-tier university with a degree in communications that my father basically bought for her. Tiffany, who drove a G-Wagon that the company paid for, lived in a penthouse the company leased, and swiped a corporate American Express Black Card for her business trips to Cabo and Miami. I was the scapegoat. I was the one who was too quiet, too analytical, too boring. When I was 12, I asked for a calculator and a ledger for Christmas because I liked tracking my allowance. My mother laughed and gave me a doll, telling me not to be such a nerd. When Tiffany asked for a pony, they bought her a horse. When the horse got sick because she forgot to feed it, they paid the vet bills and blamed the stable hand. That was the dynamic. Tiffany broke things. My parents paid to fix them. I fixed things. My parents pretended I didn't exist. But the irony, the bitter, sharp irony that tasted like copper in my mouth, was that I had been paying to fix their lives for years, and they didn't even know it. 3 years ago, Sterling Manufacturing got hit with a massive tax lien. My father had been playing fast and loose with payroll taxes. using the withheld money to fund a renovation on their summer home in the Hamptons. The IRS came knocking. They froze the business accounts. My mother was hysterical, crying on the phone to me, not asking for help, just complaining that she couldn't buy her season tickets for the opera. I was 26 then. I had just closed my first major deal, flipping a failing logistics software company for a $4.5 million profit. I could have written them a check, but I knew if I did, the dynamic would change. They would just demand more. So, I set up a shell corporation. I contacted their tax attorney anonymously. I paid the $142,000, lien in full, disguised as a retroactive vendor rebate from a supplier that didn't exist. I saved the company. I saved the house. I saved their reputation. And what did they do? At Thanksgiving dinner that year, my father raised a glass of wine and toasted to divine providence. He said, "God looks out for the righteous." He looked at Tiffany and said, "See, sweetheart, success attracts luck." Then he looked at me, eating my dry turkey, and said, "Maybe one day you'll understand how the world works." Alina, I paid for Tiffany's last 3 credit card wipes. She ran up $18,000 on handbags. I anonymously purchased consulting services from her marketing blog that had 0 readers, funneling the money into her account so she could pay the debt without daddy finding out. I told myself I was doing it to keep the peace. I told myself I was doing it because, despite everything, they were my blood. But tonight was different. Tonight wasn't just an insult. It was an erasure. I pulled up to my apartment building, my building. Though the tenant list just says E. Vance next to Unit 4B. I didn't go inside immediately. I sat in the dark car and replayed the scene in the kitchen before my dad handed me the check. I had arrived early, hoping to maybe help set up, hoping to earn a smile from my mother. I found her in the catering staging area, screaming at a server about the color of the napkins. When she saw me, her face dropped. "Alina, oh God, why are you here so early?" She hadn't hugged me. She had grabbed my arm, her manicured nails digging into my skin, and pulled me behind a stack of crates. "Tiffany is bringing the board of directors tonight. We are announcing her promotion. Do you understand how important this is?" "I'm happy for her, Mom," I had said. "I just wanted to be here." "Well, don't be," she snapped. "Look at your hair. It's so flat. And that dress makes you look like a funeral attendee. We are selling a vision tonight, Alina, the sterling vision. Success, luxury, legacy. You are..." She waved her hand up and down my body, searching for the word. "You are a reminder of the difficult years. We don't want to think about the difficult years." That hurt more than the money. I was a reminder of the time before they were fake. I was the witness to their mediocrity, and they hated me for it. Then Tiffany had walked in. She was wearing a red dress that probably cost more than my car. She looked beautiful, glowing, and completely vacuous. "Ooh, is she staying?" Tiffany asked, not even addressing me directly. "Mom, seriously, the photographer is doing the family portraits in 20 minutes. If she's in them, I'm not standing next to her. She throws off the color palette. She's not staying for the photos, sweetie," Mom promised, stroking Tiffany's hair. "She's just leaving." That was the moment. That was the moment the invisible tether I had been holding onto for 29 years finally snapped. It didn't make a sound. It just severed. My father walked in then, saw the tension, and made the decision. He pulled out his checkbook. He wrote the number. He banished me. "I am removing you from the will. By the way," he had added, almost as an afterthought as he tore the check from the book. "I spoke to the estate lawyer this morning. It makes no sense to divide the assets between someone who can manage wealth and someone who will just squander it on rent and whatever it is you do. Tiffany gets the company. Tiffany gets the properties. You're nearly 30, Alina. If you haven't made it by now, you never will. Consider this $500 your inheritance." My inheritance. $500. I looked at the dashboard clock. 10:15 p.m. The gala would be in full swing now. They would be toasting Tiffany. They would be laughing about how they handled the Alina problem. I took a deep breath and opened the glove compartment. I pushed aside a stack of fast food napkins and pulled out a sleek, secure satellite phone I kept for business emergencies. I dialed a number I knew by heart. "Sarah," I said when my lawyer answered. "I need you to open a file." Sarah's voice was sharp, professional. "It's late, Alina. What's the emergency?" "No emergency," I said, my voice incredibly calm. The kind of calm that comes right before a tsunami hits the shore. "I need you to run a full distress analysis on Sterling Manufacturing. I want to know every liability, every loan, every creditor, and every dirty secret they have buried in their ledger. And Sarah, yes. Find out who holds their primary debt note. I don't care which bank it is. I want to buy it. I want to buy all of it. Alina, Sarah warned, Sterling is a private family company. Buying their debt is aggressive. It's hostile. Are you sure? I looked at the $500 check sitting on the passenger seat. They wanted to buy me out of the family. Sarah. I accepted the deal. Now I'm just investing my capital elsewhere. I'll have the report by morning, Sarah said. I hung up. I picked up the check. I didn't deposit it. I pinned it to the sun visor of my car. I wanted to look at it every single day. I wanted to remember exactly what my father thought I was worth. Because by the time I was done with them, $500 was going to look like a fortune to the Sterling family. They wanted to disown the poor daughter. Fine. But they had no idea they had just declared war on the wrong tax bracket. I started the engine. The muffler rattled, but this time, it sounded like a growl. The scapegoat was dead. The silent partner had just arrived. The file hit my encrypted inbox at exactly 6 a.m. on Monday morning. I hadn't slept much, but I didn't feel tired. I felt a strange, cold clarity, the kind of hyper-focus I usually only get right before closing a 10-figure acquisition. I sat at my kitchen island in my slum apartment, the one with the marble countertops. I'd installed myself and the soundproof walls and opened the PDF. Sarah, my lawyer, is worth every penny of her $500 an hour retainer. The dossier was comprehensive. It was brutal, and it confirmed everything I suspected. Sterling Manufacturing wasn't just struggling, it was technically insolvent. My father had been playing a shell game with the finances for years. He was moving money from the employee pension fund to cover operating costs, then borrowing short-term high-interest loans to pay back the pension fund before the auditors arrived. It was a Ponzi scheme with extra steps. But the real smoking gun was Tiffany. Since she had taken over as director of marketing 6 months ago, the company's burn rate had increased by 40%. I scrolled through the expenses Sarah had flagged. A $60,000 brand activation trip to the Maldives, $12,000 for client retention gifts that looked suspiciously like receipts from Hermes and Louis Vuitton, a lease on a corporate apartment in downtown, a penthouse listed as remote office space. They were bleeding the company dry to maintain the appearance of wealth. And the bank Vanguard Regional was losing patience. They had placed Sterling on a watch list 3 months ago. I picked up my phone and dialed Sarah. I've read it, I said, skipping the pleasantries. Who holds the primary lien? Vanguard, Sarah replied. Her voice was groggy but sharp. They hold the mortgage on the factory, the warehouse, and a revolving line of credit totaling $4.2 million. Sterling has missed the last 2 interest-only payments. Vanguard is preparing to send a notice of default next week. Perfect, I said, sipping my black coffee. Call Vanguard's distressed asset division. Tell them Nightshade Holdings is interested in purchasing the entire debt portfolio. Offer them 60 cents on the dollar. Cash. Immediate settlement. Tell them we'll take the headache off their hands so they don't have to deal with the legal fees of a foreclosure. Alina, Sarah hesitated. If you buy that debt, you become their landlord, their bank, and their executioner. You realize that if they default on you, which they already have, you have the right to seize all collateral. That includes the factory. That includes your father's company car. That includes the accounts. I know the terms, Sarah. Make the call. I want the paperwork signed by close of business today. And the family, she asked. Do they get a warning? No, I said, staring at the $500 check still pinned to my fridge. They get a lesson. By 4 p.m. that afternoon, the wire transfer from my offshore trust cleared. Nightshade Holdings LLC was now the primary creditor of Sterling Manufacturing. I owned their debt. I owned their leverage. I essentially owned them. I didn't call my father. I didn't text Tiffany. I simply logged into the creditor portal, now accessible to me as the owner of the note, and clicked a single button. Freeze credit facility. Breach of covenant. Then, I waited. The chaos started on Tuesday morning. I wasn't there to see it, but I could trace it through the digital footprint like a ghost in the machine. At 10:14 a.m., my mother tried to pay for her weekly session at the Golden Door Spa. It's an exclusive place, the kind where they greet you by name and offer you cucumber water before they take your robe. I saw the transaction attempt on the live ledger, $450. Declined. She tried again. Declined. I imagined her face. The flush of confusion. Then the indignation. She would have smiled tightly at the receptionist, laughed it off as a bank error, and pulled out the backup card, the corporate Platinum Amex linked to my father's business account. 10:16 a.m. $450. Declined. Account frozen. She would have had to call my father then. She would have been standing in the lobby in her silk robe, whispering furiously into her phone, while the receptionist served the next client. At 11:30 a.m., Tiffany tried to fuel up her G-Wagon. She used the company fuel card. Declined. She tried the corporate expense card. Declined. I saw a flurry of small transaction attempts at Obix, Uber, a nail salon, all within 20 minutes. All rejected. Code 05. Do not honor by noon. My phone started ringing. It was my mother first. I stared at the screen as it lit up with Mom. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. She called again immediately. Then a text. Alina, pick up. It's an emergency. The bank is having a glitch and your father is in a meeting. A glitch? That's what they thought this was. A technical error. An inconvenience. At 1 p.m., the process server arrived at the Sterling manufacturing headquarters. I had paid extra for a rush delivery. He wasn't delivering a lawsuit. He was delivering a notice of acceleration. Because Sterling had falsified their quarterly reports to hide Tiffany's spending, they were in breach of contract. As the new debt holder, I was exercising my right to demand the full $4.2 million immediately, if they couldn't pay within 48 hours. I had the legal right to take possession of the company assets. My phone rang again. This time it was my father. I let it ring, then Tiffany. I let it ring. I sat in my quiet apartment, working on a separate merger for a client in Tokyo, listening to the buzzing of my phone like it was background music. They weren't calling to apologize for the gala. They weren't calling to say they loved me. They were calling because their world had suddenly stopped spinning, and they needed someone to blame, or someone to fix it. At 2:30 p.m., my father left a voicemail. I played it on speaker while I made lunch. Alina, it's Dad. Look, I know things were tense on Saturday, but I need you to do me a favor. Go to the bank branch near your apartment, the one on 4th Street. I need you to deposit that check I gave you. Immediately. We're having a cash flow, hiccup, with the main accounts, and I need to make sure the payroll system doesn't flag anything. Just deposit the check. Alina, call me back. I almost laughed. He wanted me to deposit his hush money so it wouldn't bounce. He was worried about his reputation, not my rent. He still thought he was in control. He still thought the check was a gift, not a severance package. I deleted the voicemail. By Wednesday, the panic had set in for real. The locks on the corporate penthouse where Tiffany worked were electronic. As part of the asset freeze, I had the property management company reset the codes. I got a text from Tiffany at 9 a.m. on Wednesday. Oh my God, Alina. Seriously, did you tell Mom I was at the apartment? Dad is freaking out. The keycard isn't working and my laptop is inside. I need to get in before the meeting tomorrow. Can you come pick me up? My gas card isn't working. She wanted a ride. The sister who refused to stand next to me in a photo because I ruined the aesthetic was now asking to be picked up in my dented Honda Civic because her G-Wagon was running on fumes. I replied with 2 words. I'm busy. Then I turned off my phone. The final blow came Wednesday afternoon. I had Sarah send the official email to the Sterling Board of Directors, which consisted of my father, my mother, and their old college friend, Marcus, who acted as the independent member. The email was from Nightshade Holdings, LLC. It was short, formal, and terrifying. Subject: Mandatory Emergency Board Meeting, Asset Liquidation and Restructuring to the Board of Sterling Manufacturing, the primary lien holder of all Sterling Manufacturing debt and assets. Nightshade Holdings, LLC, hereby summons the current management to an emergency meeting on Thursday at 9 a.m. Failure to appear will be considered an abandonment of fiduciary duty, resulting in immediate personal liability. Litigation. Agenda: 1. Review of insolvency. 2. Transfer of ownership. 3. Termination of executive officers. The management. Nightshade Holdings. My father must have read that email and felt his heart stop. He didn't know who Nightshade Holdings was. He had probably called Vanguard screaming, only to be told, "We sold your debt, Mr. Sterling. You're not our client anymore." He was facing a nameless, faceless entity that had bought his life's work and was coming to dismantle it. He had no idea that the entity was currently sitting in a beanbag chair wearing sweatpants, eating microwave popcorn, and reviewing his termination papers. Wednesday night, my father showed up at my apartment building. I saw him on the security camera feed. He was pacing in the lobby, pressing the buzzer for Unit 4B over and over again. He looked disheveled. His tie was loose. His hair wasn't perfectly gelled. He looked old. I pressed the intercom button. "Yes," I asked. my voice distorted by the speaker. Alina, let me in. It's Dad. I can't. Dad, I said. I have work in the morning. You know how it is with us poor people. We have to punch the clock. Alina, listen to me. This isn't a joke. Someone is trying to take the company. A hostile takeover. I need to know if you have any savings. I know, I said, ... Look, I know what I said at the party, but we're family. If you have anything put away, even a few thousand, I can pay you back double next week. I just need to hire a lawyer to stall these people. He was asking me for money. The man who disowned me 3 days ago for being poor was now begging at my intercom for my pennies to fight a war he had already lost. I don't have any savings. Dad, I said, honestly, I spent it all. Spent it on what? He snapped, his old arrogance flashing through the desperation. You barely pay rent. What could you possibly spend money on? An investment, I said. A really big investment. Go home, Dad. You have a big meeting tomorrow. Alina, he shouted. Open this door. You ungrateful. I disconnected the intercom. I watched on the monitor as he kicked the glass door, then slumped his shoulders and walked away. He looked defeated, but he hadn't seen anything yet. I walked to my closet. I pushed aside the thrift store cardigans and the worn-out jeans. In the back, in a garment bag I hadn't opened in 2 years, hung my armor. It was a charcoal gray bespoke suit, tailored in London. Beside it were my Louboutin pumps, the ones with the red soles that click sharply against boardroom floors. I pulled them out. I laid them on the bed. Tomorrow at 9 a.m., the administrative assistant wasn't going to show up. The scapegoat wasn't going to show up tomorrow. The owner was coming to work, and she was going to fire everyone. Thursday morning, 8:55 a.m. The sky was a sharp, steel gray, matching the mood inside the Sterling Manufacturing boardroom. I wasn't in the room yet, but I knew exactly what it looked like. My father would be pacing at the head of the table, sweating through his shirt. My mother would be nervously checking her makeup in a compact mirror, terrified of meeting a stranger who held the power to evict her from her life. And Tiffany would be scrolling on her phone, bored, probably assuming Daddy would fix this like he fixed her parking tickets. I didn't take the Honda Civic. I hired a black town car. I sat in the back, smoothing the fabric of my charcoal suit. I had pulled my hair back into a severe, professional bun, no loose strands, no softness. I checked my reflection. I didn't look like Alina the scapegoat anymore. I looked like Alina the shark. Sarah, my lawyer, met me in the lobby. She was holding a thick binder labeled Asset Acquisition and Liquidation. She looked at me, took in the suit, the shoes, and the cold expression on my face, and gave a small nod. They're upstairs, she said. They're terrified. Your father tried to fire the receptionist this morning because she couldn't tell him who owned Nightshade Holdings. Let's go, I said. We took the elevator to the 14th floor. The doors slid open with a soft chime. The office was quiet, too quiet. The rumors had spread. Everyone knew the axe was falling today. They just didn't know whose neck was on the block. We walked to the double glass doors of the boardroom. I could hear my father's voice through the glass, muffled but frantic. We just offer them equity. We give this Nightshade group 20%, keep control, and restructure the loans. It's standard business. Martha, stop crying. I placed my hand on the cold metal handle. I took one breath, the last breath of the daughter I used to be, and pushed the door open. The room went silent instantly. My father spun around. A fake, ingratiating smile plastered on his face. Ready to greet the new investor? But when he saw me, the smile didn't just fade. It shattered. Alina, he asked, his voice cracking. He looked confused, then angry. What the hell are you doing here? I told you on the intercom last night, this is a closed meeting. Security. How did you get past the lobby? My mother gasped, dropping her compact mirror. Alina, you cannot be here. We are waiting for the new owners. Get out before you ruin everything again. Tiffany didn't even look up from her phone. God, are you here to beg for money? Dad, just give her $20 so she leaves. I didn't say a word. I walked past my father, ignoring him completely. I walked to the head of the heavy oak table, his seat. I pulled out the high-backed leather chair, the one he had sat in for 30 years. And I sat down. Sarah walked in behind me, closed the doors, and stood at my right hand. She placed the thick binder on the table in front of me with a heavy thud. Get out of my chair. My father roared, his face turning a dangerous shade of red. He marched toward me. Have you lost your mind? You are humiliating us. When the representative from Nightshade Holdings walks through that door, I am Nightshade Holdings. I said. My voice wasn't loud. I didn't yell. I spoke with the absolute, crushing weight of a gavel hitting a block. The room froze. My father stopped mid. His mouth opened, closed, and opened again. What? I am the managing partner of Nightshade Holdings LLC, I repeated, locking eyes with him. I am the one who purchased your debt from Vanguard yesterday. I am the one who froze your accounts. And I am the one holding the title to this building, the factory, and the equipment you are currently standing on. Tiffany finally looked up from her phone. That's not possible. You're poor. You drive a Honda. I turned to Sarah. Show them. Sarah opened the binder and slid 3 documents across the polished table. The first was the notarized deed of sale, transferring the $4.2 million debt note to Nightshade. The second was the articles of incorporation for Nightshade, listing the sole beneficiary, Alina Vance. My father grabbed the papers. His hands were shaking so badly he nearly tore the page. He read the lines. He read the signature. He looked up at me, and for the first time in my life, I saw genuine fear in his eyes. You, he whispered. Where did you get this money? $4 million. How? I didn't spend my money on appearances. Dad, I said coldly. I built my own firm while you were busy buying vacation homes you couldn't afford. I'm an investor. And right now, I'm looking at a very bad investment. My mother let out a sob. Alina, baby. You bought the company. To save us, oh thank God. I told you, Charles. I told you she was special. She rushed toward me, arms open, ready to play the loving mother role she had abandoned years ago. Sit down, I said. She stopped. The warmth in my voice was non-existent. I didn't buy it to save you. I bought it because you defaulted. This is a foreclosure, not a charity auction. I opened the folder in front of me. Let's review the financials. Tiffany, you're listed as VP of Marketing. In the last 6 months, you've spent $84,000 on corporate travel, yet, sales are down 15%. Can you explain that? Tiffany stammered, looking at Dad for help. I was building brand awareness. You can't put a price on vibes, Alina. I can, I said. And the price is unemployment. You're fired. Effective immediately. Tiffany shrieked. You can't fire me. I'm the face of the company. Daddy, he's not the CEO anymore. I cut in. I am, and as of this morning, the position of VP of Marketing is dissolved. You have 1 hour to clear your desk and leave the company car keys. The lease is terminated. I turned to my mother. Mom, you are listed as a consultant with a salary of $60,000 a year. I've reviewed your contributions. I see 0 reports, 0 emails, and 0 hours logged. That constitutes fraud. You're fired. My mother collapsed into a chair, weeping into her hands. How can you do this to your own mother? After everything we gave you. You gave me nothing, I said. You gave me a complex and a bill. And, Dad, I turned to him. He was pale, leaning against the wall for support. He looked like a man watching his house burn down, realizing he was the one who lit the match. You cooked the books, I said. You raided the pension fund. That's a federal crime. Now, as the new owner, I could report that to the SEA. I could have you indicted. He flinched. Alina, please. I'm your father. I raised you. You disowned me. I corrected him. Last Saturday, you told me I wasn't worth being seen with. You told me to take $500 and disappear. I reached into my blazer pocket. I pulled out the check, the wrinkled, sad little check for $500. I placed it on the table between us. Here, I said, I'm returning your inheritance. You're going to need it more than I do. What are you going to do? He asked, his voice barely a whisper. I'm liquidating the executive suite. I said, I'm bringing in my own management team. You are relieved of your duties. Dad, you can retire. But since the pension fund is empty because you stole from it, I suggest you start looking for work. I hear Walmart is hiring You're good at fake smiles. You can't do this, he pleaded. This company is my legacy. No, I stood up, smoothing my suit. This company was your ego. Now, it's my asset. I looked at Sarah. Have security escort them out. If they take anything other than personal photos, call the police. I walked to the door. I didn't look back. I heard Tiffany screaming names at me. I heard my mother sobbing. I heard my father silence. That was the sweetest sound of all. 6 months later. The fallout was absolute. Without the company's salary and the expense accounts, the Sterling House of Cards collapsed within 90 days. My parents lost the Hamptons house first. It went into foreclosure because, surprise, they had remortgaged it to the hilt. They are currently living in a 2-bedroom rental on the outskirts of the city. My mother works part-time at a department store perfume counter. She hates it. She tries to call me sometimes, usually when rent is due. I changed my number. Tiffany lost the G-Wagon the same day. She tried to become an influencer to pay her bills. But it turns out nobody wants lifestyle advice from a girl who lives on her friend's couch. Last I heard, she was working as a hostess at the same restaurant where they held the gala. The irony is poetic. As for me, I kept Sterling Manufacturing. I fired the incompetents, hired a capable CEO, and streamlined operations. The company is profitable again. It turns out, when you stop looting the accounts for designer bags, the business actually works. But I didn't keep the money for myself. I set up a scholarship fund for students from low-income backgrounds, kids who are smart, driven, and treated like the help because they can't afford the right clothes. I named it the Vance Initiative, using my middle name, no Sterling attached. People ask me if I regret it. They ask if it was too harsh. They're your family. They say, you should have forgiven them. But forgiveness is for mistakes. What they did wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern. They measured my worth in dollars, so I paid them back in the same currency. I learned something important that day in the boardroom. Self-respect isn't something you can buy, and it's certainly not something you can beg for. It's the ability to walk away from people who hurt you, even if you share the same DNA. It's the ability to look at a $500 check and say, no, I'm worth more. I'm sitting in my office now, my real office. The phone is quiet, my accounts are full, and for the first time in my life, I don't feel like the poor relation. I don't feel like the scapegoat. I just feel free. This is silent karma. Sometimes, the loudest move you can make is to simply succeed in silence. If you enjoyed this story of justice served, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You don't want to miss the next time karma comes knocking. Stay silent, stay strong.